Okay guys, I'm so excited for today's episode because today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be building out your brand playbook for yourself as a content creator. When I tell you I have a coffee, I have a smoothie, and I have a 13-page slide deck that we're going to go through today to build out your brand on social media for the summer of 2025. I have spent so many hours on Pinterest, on TikTok, on Instagram, in Canva, in my notes, building out this template that we're going to go through together today, and I'm so excited to get into it and build out your brand for yourself. If you're watching this in real time, we have about a week until July 1st. And if you're in the office of Busy Blooming, if you clock in here every week, then you know that July 1st kicks off short form summer rebrand, where we are doing a rebrand challenge over the summer, where we are all rebranding our social media on Instagram, on TikTok, even on your YouTube, your podcast if you want as well over the summer. And I'm so excited to grow with you on Instagram. Instagram is my number one focus over the summer of 2025, but also TikTok as well. And I'm so excited to get into it. Today, I'm going to get vulnerable, unfiltered. I'm going to tell you literally exactly the brand I'm going to build. For today's video, I thought it'd be so helpful to just walk you through step by step what I did to build my brand. I have this entire template in Canva in Busy Blooming HQ. But the sun is shining. It's a gorgeous day in Toronto. It's a heat wave. It's 35 degrees. We got our coffee. We need to jump in because we have a lot of work to do together today. So let's go ahead. Let's build your brand on social media. We're going to be talking about everything today. What your content looks like, the signature styles you have, the emojis you use, what you say, your one-liners, your bio, literally everything you need to build your signature brand on social media as a content creator. So let's get into it. I'm so excited, and let's clock into work together today. When talking about building your brand on social media as a creator, there are so many things we talk about, like content strategy and brand strategy and posting schedules, but the hardest part is actually executing on all of it, which is why I'm so excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Upwork. You guys, I have personally used Upwork over the years on podcast artwork, graphics, and you need to use them. If you have a vision for your brand in your head that you don't have the skills to execute it all on your own, Upwork is the place where you go. Upwork is a platform where you can find amazing freelancers for literally any project you're dreaming of. Logo design, brand strategy, website building, podcast editing, social media help. It's all there. You can look through portfolios, check reviews, and find someone who just really gets your style and your brand. And if you're a creative or a freelancer yourself, you can actually offer your own services on Upwork. I also did this many years ago when I was first getting into freelance after my 9-to-5. I offered my services on Upwork, and it's such a great way to connect with brands and get paid for doing what you do best. Instead of trying to do it all as a creator, Upwork lets you focus on your strengths and bring in pros for the rest. It's such a powerful tool for creators who are ready to take things to the next level. So if you're ready to start building your dream brand on social media, check out Upwork in the link below. And a huge thank you to Upwork for sponsoring today's video. So definitely go check them out. I'm a huge fan of Upwork. I'm so excited they're sponsoring today's video. They're a perfect sponsor for talking about building our brand on social media. So go check them out. I'll link them down below, and let's get into the episode. Okay, so obviously when building your brand, I say this all the time over here, but building your brand and what a brand is on social media, it's not what you talk about, it's how. So the first thing I need you to do, of course, is figure out what you want to talk about. I'm assuming you already know the topics you want to talk about, who you want your target audience to be, what you kind of want to be known for going into the summer. Going to short form summer rebrand, we're stepping into a completely new era. We can be whoever we want to be on social media. You can show up however you want to show up, talk about what you want to talk about. Your content can look completely different. When it comes to a rebrand, in my opinion, I feel like the best way to do it is to never talk about it. Don't tell people what you're doing, but show people what you're doing. Just show them the content you're posting. Just show people what you talk about, who you are, all of that. For example, I'm not going to make a post on my Instagram being I want to start talking about these new things, or I'm not going to make a post on TikTok talking about where I've been or that I've been gone for a year and a half basically off TikTok. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to jump right into it and hard launch it. I feel like that's the best way to approach a rebrand or pivot or an elevation on social. And of course, I have to say, when it comes to rebranding, you of course need to embrace the cringe. Okay, so let's get to work. Let me share my screen. So okay, again, this template is linked in Busy Blooming HQ, the full Canva template. So the first thing we're going to do, which I think is so fun, and I've been having so much fun this week doing this, prepping for this, is we're going to create a content mood board. And what I want you to do is go through Pinterest. I mentioned this in the last video. By the way, complete side note, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to short form summer rebrand, I forgot to mention in the last episode, I went through a list of rules of a challenge and a content calendar that we're all going to do this summer. So if you missed out on that, go check out the last episode and then come back to this one, because this is kind of like part 2. And then part 3 will be how to plan your content every week. week, which will come in a couple of days. Okay, so like I said in the last episode, creating a mood board is so important, I feel like, when thinking about elevating or changing or rebranding your content and just building your brand in general. A mood board, I feel like, is key. So what I've done is I've gone on Instagram, Pinterest, a lot of Pinterest, and TikTok, and I've screenshotted content that I really like, either the visual vibe of, or I want to emulate a similar topic, similar style. So this is my mood board. I have not taken anything out of this PowerPoint. I've not changed anything. This is like exactly what I'm going to be doing, because I think it's really helpful to see other strategies from other creators to kind of like get your creativity going. So this is my exact mood board. I've grabbed a couple screenshots of carousels I really like. A couple things in my mood board have like overlays of notes app screenshots or texting, which is something I really want to add as a signature element, which we'll talk about in a second. I grabbed a Mel Robbins podcast screenshot. I liked when she was a guest on this podcast, how they like formatted her quote that she had. I want to do some more of that. I want to bring in more lifestyle content, like doing like voiceover lifestyle vlogs of like advice. So I have a couple of things in there. I have some podcasts behind the scenes. So this is my mood board. This was so much fun to do. Of course, it's so important to go through all the stuff we're going to go through now of like your messaging, your taglines, all of that. But I feel like having an anchor of like a look of a vision of your content can be really inspiring and kind of like anchor you throughout this exercise we're going to do together today. Because I used these pictures a lot. Like they kept coming to mind for me when I was thinking about content styles and taglines and bios and things like that. So that is step number one, is create your mood board, put on some music, get a little nice drink for yourself, and make a content mood board of what you want your content to look like in terms of like styles, but also like kind of like topics and things you want to share more. Okay, next up, we got our content world. I said this in HQ a couple of weeks ago. I did a voice note about how I feel like building a brand on social media is about kind of creating a world for yourself on social media that people step into. And it's a really helpful thing going into the summer of thinking about, okay, when people come to my Instagram or my TikTok, my podcast, my YouTube, what kind of world are they like stepping into? And what do I want them to feel in this world? What transformation do I want them to go through? What do I want them to see and experience? Like when people view all of your content, we say this all the time over here, that your content should be like a collection that's cohesive. So think about your content on your Instagram or TikTok as a world. And so what we're going to go through now is building out your content world, which I think is really fun. So the first thing we're going to do is, of course, we need to decide what are the topics we're going to talk about in your world. For me, I have listed out, I obviously at a really high level when I talk about content creation and social media and mindset and confidence when it comes to those things. But in terms of like deeper down, like more granular topics, list out some of the topics that you want to talk about. So for example, for me, I have content ideas, content strategy, organization. I want to talk about relatable thoughts and experiences as creators, mindset and mental health for entrepreneurs and creators. I want to show way more of the behind the scenes of running and building my business. I want to share more lessons and mistakes of my personal journey. I have made so many mistakes. So those are some of the more granular topics I want to talk about, not just like social media and content, but like what about social media and content do I want to actually like talk about? Like let's say you want to, I say fashion and fitness are like the main examples I always give, but it's because when I used to meet one-on-one with creators, I met with so many fashion and fitness creators. But let's say you want to talk about fashion, it's like what about fashion? Do you want to show outfit guides? Do you want to do hauls? Do you want to do outfit of the days of your outfits? Do you want to do like shopping guides? Do you want to review when new launches happen at like Aritzia or something? When you talk about fitness, it's like what type? Do you want to talk about your meals, your calorie counting, your mindset, your mistakes, what you're eating? And like get more granular and list out the actual topics you want to address in your world. Okay, the next thing you're going to do, this is optional, but I feel like this is something that has really helped me. I feel like the brand of Busy Blooming is something that I am so proud of and I've built out so intentionally and like I am so deeply obsessed with. So something I wanted to share, I don't know how to exactly put this into words, but I hope you know what I mean, is you don't have to do this, but think about if you want a metaphor for your social media. You guys might know I have a degree in not marketing, surprisingly, but like grammar and writing. And I feel like I use it all the time when it comes to content creation and marketing. And I feel like metaphors are just so helpful in marketing. So I thought I'd bring this to the table for content, because what I want you to think about is try to think of like an actual physical metaphor for your social media. Like for example, Busy Blooming is an office. And when you come into the world of Busy Blooming, I really do want you to feel like you're in an office and like I'm your boss or your coworker, depending on the vibe. Busy Blooming HQ is like a virtual office. We clock in. But I love it. I think it's so much fun. And so for me, going into my short form content, I kind of wanted to have the same approach of having some sort of like physical thing that describes my account. So what I have come up with for my social media is I want to kind of be an inspo board for content creators, because I feel like being the founder of Busy Blooming and running the show, my personal accounts, I feel like it would be so helpful if my social media feels like a mood board for you of like ideas, inspo, encouragement, all this inspiration, motivation, like all of that. Like you have, let's say you do fashion again, maybe your bio is like welcome to my closet, or maybe you do like a lot of advice. It's like welcome to class, welcome to the school about confidence, or something like that. Just a thought starter for you. I think it can be so helpful, but that is not essential. And then I want you to think about, after you have your topics, you have your metaphor for your world, maybe. Then I want you to think about your audience. Like, who do you want in this world? 3 categories to think about this for this exercise is I would write out their interests, their goals, and their struggles. Having this in mind of like what your audience is working towards, what they're struggling with on that journey, what they're interested in is so helpful to just like put those into buckets. So when you're creating this world, you have a good idea of like the people who come into it, like what they want to do and what they're struggling with and what they're interested in. Okay, so step number 1 in building out your world is you have your topics specifically, potentially a metaphor of like how to describe it, like a place that your social media is. And then you have your audience, the interests, the goals, and the struggles that they have. Okay, and now what we're gonna do before we continue on building out your world on social media is we need to build out your brand as a creator, like your personal content creator brand of who you are as a person. So what we're gonna do is 3 big chunks here, because I know that this can be like a lot to think about. So when you think about you filming, the person who's like filming the content, your Instagram Reels, your TikTok, the person who's making the carousels, writing the captions, the voice that's coming through all of this pieces of content, your stories, everything. Who do you want that person to be? Like what version of you do you want to kind of create for your world in social media? So I've simplified this down a little bit. So what I want you to think about firstly, and this is like the heart of your brand, the key element, the most important thing in this video is you need to think about when it comes to your topics that you're talking about, what are your core values and philosophies that you have about those topics and like the journey you want to take people on. So when you think about the goals that we chatted about that your audience has, like what is your unique hot takes on those goals and how to get there? Or what are your unique philosophies and like belief system about these topics that you have? It doesn't have to be that deep. Like obviously if you're talking about like fashion, fitness, confidence, 9 to 5, lifestyle, beauty, like all these different things. It doesn't have to be these like moral beliefs, but it's more like what are your hot takes and opinions on it? That's what your brand really is. So for example, with me, when it comes to social media and content, some of my core values as a creator and as a person is when it comes to these topics is that I believe growing on social media doesn't have to result in burnout. I think it's actually really fun and it should be like really positive. I think content creation, social media is so deep and so linked to like personal development. Maybe you really believe that you don't need to be passionate about your 9 to 5 career, or maybe you believe that you need to have a capsule wardrobe, or dressing how you want doesn't have to be expensive, or maybe one of your opinions is that like you love luxury pieces. Like what are the core messages and values and opinions you have on the topics? Because that is so important to think about when thinking about your world on social. Then what you want to think about is what is like the voice and the tone and the vibe that you have on social media. This does not have to be like how you're feeling every single day, what you're going through all the time, like being so open and so transparent about everything, but this is really thinking strategically about what is like the brand voice you want to have as a creator through your content. For me, one of the very key things I want to have this summer is I want, when I talk about content creation, social media and everything, I want it to be very unserious. Like I want it to be funny and fun, but also like actually really smart and strategic. I want to, the voice and tone I want to have is just exactly how I talk. I don't want to like dim any of that down. I want to just be so unfiltered. So that voice will go through all of my content, like my carousels, my reels, like everything. So think about what is like the voice you want to have and the tone and the vibe. Are there certain like things you want to say all the time? Is there a certain phrase you want to like call your audience, like the girlies or something like that? Like what do you want your voice to be on social, like through all your content? And then what I want you to think about, the last thing with your creator brand, is I want you to write out what is your unique point of view and your credentials credentials for this world. For me, like my credentials to talking about like social media and content is like I've worked in marketing for 10 years. I'm a full-time podcaster. I've made X amount of money, like whatever it is. So I want you to think about, for you, what are your kind of internal credentials of why people should listen to you? Like whether it's the journey you've been on, what you've experienced, the transformation you've gone through. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish building out your world on social media. So we're gonna take all of that and we're gonna finish this off and write out what are the main messages and takeaways you want people to have from your world. Like for me, for example, it's going to align with my core values and beliefs that I want people to really take away the message that social media is fun. I want people to feel inspired and excited and empowered. I want you to take away that you're not alone in what you're experiencing and building. So think about when people go through your world, they watch all your content, like what is the main messaging, belief system, takeaways that they're getting from like all your content? Okay, so I'll pause there. We'll take a sip of coffee. That was a lot, but that is such good foundational work to do, to think about, okay, what is like a bird's eye view of my social media world? Like what do I want it to be? We could go so much deeper into talking about like the mission, the brand persona, but we're not going to do that today because for short form summer, I want to keep this really like high level and light and very like tangible, because I think sometimes problem when it comes to content strategy, which I will be doing very soon, a whole like deep video about my entire method of building out a full like multi-page content strategy. But what I find going to the summer is that we want to keep it light. We want to have fun. We're going through a rebrand. So you don't want to just have this like long document of all this stuff. I feel like the stuff we pull out today of like the topics, the metaphor, the audience, the values, like that's so high level. And these are things that will actually help you day to day, like with all of your content. So that is part number one, like building out your world, both for yourself and for your content, like the framework of everything. Now let's go a little bit deeper, which this is like the most fun part, is building out your signature brand. So like your signature parts of your content, your profile, like all of that. So let's start with your profiles. You should think of your profile as being navigational. It's like a map of your world. All of your content, there's this cohesion between the energy, the voice, the messaging. All of that foundational work we just did comes through all of your content because you've had this like strategy behind it. And you know when people say the thing like, oh, that's so this coded, or like you could say that's so test coded, that's so busy blooming coded. The coded thing is like exactly like such a good word to think about branding. Doing that foundational work, you were like coding your content. So there's a certain vibe with it. So when thinking about your actual profile, let's think about how we can build that brand through your profile. So for me, because I said I want the metaphor to be like your inspo board for content creation, I put that as my number one line in my bio. The next line I have is founder and podcaster at Busy Blooming. That's like a call to action, line number 2. And the last one is let's clock into work, which is another one-liner. I wanted to do a lot of one-liners in my bio for the summer. And I also want to build some cohesion with Busy Blooming, obviously, with my brand as well. So that's why I like the let's clock into work. You obviously could put your email in there as well. I personally don't do that. I have an email button and I have it in my link tree. You of course could have a line about like what you think over here. I love having the line over here of like, over here we think this, or we hate this over here. You could have a line of like your digital bestie for this, or your digital big sis for this. You could have a list of topics that you talk about. But when people get to your bio, it should be so clear. If they see like a reel or a carousel and they go to your account, your bio should be so clear of like what you talk about. I personally don't have any like keywords in my name. I just don't want to, but I feel like you totally can if you want to have like, a lot of people do like social media strategist or something like that, like fashion content creator. One thing I will say, can I just have a note on that? You guys, do not put content creator in your name. That is like the one deeply strong opinion I have, is take out the phrase lifestyle content creator or like content creator from your name, because you are a content creator if you are on Instagram or TikTok. And I feel like if you're going to put keywords, you could put something so much more unique. So if you're going to put keywords, put like something specific about like the topics or the brand that you have. Okay. And then under your highlights or your playlist on TikTok, this is a really good way to kind of think of the buckets of content that you talk about. It's a really good snapshot for people when they arrive in your world. They get in there, they land, they've arrived, they see all the different types of content that you talk about. So for me, I'm going to put busy blooming, content creation, mindset. Those are like the big buckets. Okay, so that's what I do for your profile. The bio, the highlights, it's super clear what you're all about, who you're for, a fun one-liner. Your priority for your feed is that it's navigational, it's clear of like all the pictures in your feed, the reels, everything has like text on screen of like what it's about. So people people see your gorgeous content in their Reels feed or on TikTok, they go to your profile, it totally matches, and then they're gonna get a conversion to a follow. Okay, now let's get into the most fun part, which is your actual content, like the visual branding elements of your content templates, what makes it visually cohesive. There's so much that goes into like brand cohesion, which so much of it, the heart of the brand is what we just did, of like what you stand for, the messaging, your voice, your tone, your beliefs and opinions about the topics, your point of view, your experience, like bringing all of that to the forefront all the time is how you really solidify your brand. But like always talking about, well, I've experienced in this, or I went through this, or I believe this, or over here, we really think this. Really nailing down for people all the time, all those things we just laid out and repeating it literally all the time. That's like the heart, emotional energy part of your brand that is so important that that's like cohesive as well. I always think consistent energy is so much more important than like consistent quantity of content just like all the time. Like on brand aligned consistency in that sense, I think is so much more important. So let's get into visual branding, the actual content. So in terms of your content, so for short form summer rebrand, we're going to be picking 3 content templates that we repeat throughout the whole summer, and we assign 1 template per day. So for example, these are mine on the screen. One of my templates is voiceover vlogs, text on screen videos, and carousels. So for each one of those types of styles of content, I'm going to have a signature template that I just repeat. Why this is so fun to do and like so important over the summer is because then you get in this really good like creation routine where you're not just like starting from scratch at the beginning of every single week of like, okay, what style should I do? Like, how should I do this? You're kind of creating this cohesive branding of these signature styles and templates that you do that's helpful for a viewer, but also for you as a creator as well. So I'm gonna go through mine one by one. So the first one I wanna do are voiceover vlogs. Like that's what I wanna do throughout the week because I wanna show more behind the scenes, show more lifestyle content. I wanna still give advice and tips and like all of these things, but I wanna showcase it through more lifestyle content. So for each content template or style of content, what we're gonna do is you're gonna write out the style, the goal, the signature elements, and the topics. So you're gonna assign certain topics to certain styles of content. This will help you again so much organize every single week what you're actually posting. So let's go through mine. So for example, with the voiceover vlog, so I've assigned these to Tuesday. So every Tuesday I'm gonna do a voiceover vlog that's like set in stone already. So the style I've mapped out for this is I'm gonna do voiceover vlogs of B-roll of working in Toronto in my apartment or in the city. Goal of these videos is to share my journey, my lessons, my lifestyle, and to get saved. So people like save these videos for like inspo. That's kind of the vibe. Then the signature elements in these videos. So this is pulling together a lot of different things. So I always want these to be really fun, unserious, really bold, kind of like out of pocket voiceovers, which we just did the foundation laying of like who I want to be on social media. I'm really intentionally writing out like, okay, I want that part of my brand to really come through in these videos. So that's where you start getting that cohesion built in the brand. If you're thinking about who you want to be, what you want your world to be, and you're being intentional when you're sitting down to make the video, that those elements come through. But then I want there to be some signature visual elements as well to my brand that go through all of my content. So I picked out a few. So I really want the notes app screenshot and overlay to be like consistent in all of my content. Same with like iMessage texting. I do that a lot in my thumbnails, so I want to bring that over to short form. I want to bring over blue and white. Like those are kind of my brand colors from Busy Blooming that I want to bring over. So I'll be wearing blue, wearing cream. And then the emojis I like to use are the nails, the phone, the sparkles, and the blue heart. And then I'm going to use the fonts like plain white text, either the Busy Blooming Times New Roman style font or like a white Arial. Like those are like kind of my brand visual pillars I'm going to do over the summer. So take a look on like Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, and decide like what are some visual elements you want to have. And this will trickle through all of your content to both have a cohesive like energy and vibe and heart to your content and messaging and beliefs and opinions throughout your content, but also you have these visual elements as well. Also, I love the idea of having a visual element of my apartment be a huge part of my brand because I filmed the podcast in the apartment. So I think it's kind of fun if you follow the podcast but you don't follow me on TikTok or Instagram, but maybe you'll recognize like the apartment. So for the voiceover vlogs, the signature elements is like the heart of it is like the voice is fun and serious, bold, out of pocket, unfiltered. But then I also want to have a lot of overlays of notes app, text, simple minimal white font, and then lots of those emojis like consistent throughout. And then the topics I want to assign to these videos is I'm always going to use these ones for either lessons I've learned or mistakes or my personal mindset routines and strategies strategies that have helped me. So these are more inward focused, but things I think will really help. The more like emotional routines, lifestyle part. Okay, and then the second content style template I'm gonna do throughout the summer are text on screen videos. Because I'm really focused on Instagram and these work so great on Instagram, so I'm gonna put these every Thursday. Style of these will be like text on screen with aesthetic B-roll in the apartment in Toronto. And the goal I have for this is that people share them. So I want these to be very shareable, so I'm gonna make them less about me and more like things that I think people will put on their story or like send to their friend if they need to hear it. So the same elements I'm gonna bring through that we just did. So funny, unserious, bold. I wanna also bring in my unique methods and point of views to this as well. But I'm gonna do the same visual things of notes app overlays, text messages, white minimal font, the same emojis. And then the topics I assign to these templates, I'm gonna do content ideas and strategies, mindsets and reminders, and inspiration and encouragement. So I'm pulling out topics from that topic list that we did and assigning them to certain template styles. It makes it so much easier every single week because you're like, okay, Tuesday, I know exactly what topics I can pick from and I know the exact style and what I want it to look like. And then Thursdays is the exact same thing. Okay, and then my last template I'm gonna do are carousels. So I wanna create in Canva a very signature style of carousel that I'm gonna just like repeat. I've done this over on the Busy Blooming Instagram. We did a really great job at that. So I wanna do the same for my personal brand. It's like I have these carousels that I think will work well on Instagram and TikTok that make them more like photo focused instead of graphic focused, because photo focused content just like does better over on both, and like graphic heavy stuff on TikTok doesn't do as well. So I'm gonna do carousels with photos as the background and an overlay of like a notes app or text overlay, the minimal white fonts of either like the Times New Roman or the Arial, and the exact same thing, funny, bold, unserious, helpful. And then the topics I assigned to these are content ideas and strategies or social media insights, stats, commentary. I don't know if this is so all over the place, but I feel like this is such a helpful way to see when you do the brand foundation of like who you want to be as a creator, what you want your world to stand for and sound like and feel like, and then what you want it to look like. You like blend all of that together into every piece of content. And then for carousels, I assign those to Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Fridays, I'm going to do a trend. But I'm going to bring in like the same voice, the same visual elements, like be in my apartment, be in like a blue, like whatever it is, but you have this like cohesion. So I feel like what you can see here is that we've built out, like you're building a brand, how it feels, how it looks, how it sounds. And you're so intentional every time you make a video, like you have a checklist mentally or in like a gorgeous Canva PowerPoint of exactly what we want everything to be, which helps so much with like decision paralysis, I feel like, as a creator, because you're like, okay, I have this like long list. I know exactly what I want my brand to look like. And this is like the most important thing as a creator, because yes, like the topics and who you're talking to and all of that is so important, but branding is what gives it heart in life and makes it signature and memorable. And this can change, like this can totally change over time. But for the summer, I think it's so fun to just like pick a few things and kind of create this world for yourself, create like a persona for yourself in a way of like pieces of you that you really brand. And this is just so fun. I had so much fun making this. The last two things that I have to do for a brand strategy book is I just have a little bit of a template. This is actually the mission statement that I'm going to put at the front of the brand book, but I didn't want to say this first because I feel like you actually build this out as you're building the book. But I have a mission statement of what your account is, who it's for, how it feels. I'll read you guys mine, and then I have the actual template. I'll put it on the screen and obviously in the template in HQ. So mine says, my account for summer of 2025 is the inspo board for people who create content on social media. It helps them feel inspired, excited, related to, and creative, and it helps them believe that social media can be easy, aligned, and fun through creating content about social media strategy, content creation, and the mindset around it. So it really packages in what my account is, who it's for, how it makes you feel, what it makes you believe, which is so important, and what topics I'm creating content about. Packaged in like a gorgeous mission. And then the last slide of this whole brand book just says, this summer I am known for, and has a ellipses, a ... that says being the inspo board for content creators that disrupts the content creation side of social media, that has a soft and strategic approach to content and is running social media's office. I love this. I think this is so fun. I obviously just like, I'm so passionate about branding and social media content branding. I feel like doing this exercise makes the biggest difference for content creators and growing on social media. It's like the heart of everything. So I had so much fun doing this. I think this is going to be so fun to do going into the summer of 2025, short form summer rebrand. And this is the brand that you're going to build. And I can't wait to see your takes on this or what you think in the comments. And I can't wait to unpack everything in HQ. I'm going to be doing a live in HQ as well, going through way more about this and like branding all of that. So stay tuned for that if you want to join live on Friday, or if you want to rewatch it later later, you can do that too in HQ. But I'm just so excited. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we will continue to unpack throughout the summer our brands, what we're doing. I can't wait to see the brands you're building. I hope this was helpful. This is definitely a different approach than I normally do with my content, of telling you what I'm doing and being like extremely unfiltered of my approach, because I feel like that might actually be more helpful for you, especially with something like this. So let me know your thoughts. I hope this was helpful, and I'm so excited for short form summer. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any comments down below. As always, use the comment section as an extension. Questions, thoughts, we'll unpack, and thank you for being here. Thanks for clocking in with me. Work is officially over. We're not gonna do an after hours today because this video is so long, but I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in a couple of days to do our weekly content planning video for short form summer, and I can't wait. So enjoy building out your brand book. The template is in HQ, and I will see you guys in a couple of days. Okay, bye.